So welcome back. Back to working on the piece. I have clearly worked on it some since the last video. But as I said before, I'm really sort of trying to draw this, create this shape here that sort of spirals back out. Not sure about the perspective of this. I keep reducing this person's face in size so you can see these various demarcations to help me figure it out. So I've sort of done blended into the white shirt, and all three of these ones will be wearing white. I'm not altogether sure. So one of the things I do, and in my studio I have Roy G. Biv, and that's over on that side of the wall over there, but I try to balance the colors, think about the color composition, what's going to happen. So right now we're sort of getting blues and oranges happening. I know this will be orange, and that's going to have to repeat somehow, that swirl. And maybe it'll just be in the hands. So back working with the oil sticks, Shiva Paintstiks in particular, Richson Art is the manufacturer. I just love these things. And you do all the mixing right on the surface, no palette, no brushes. It's part of the reason why I like it. It's also nice because, you know, my studio is at my home. So there are times when I get interrupted. And I can just walk out of the studio and go deal with what needs to be dealt with. And then come back and keep working. Because there's no cleanup other than your own hands. And to that end, I think I talked about it before, the vinyl gloves help keep my hands a little better off. Because it is a permanent, it is non-toxic. I don't know why you would want to eat it, but you could. But it is oil paint. This is intrinsically oil paint. So I'm working on her arm now, and that's going to help create this V. The V reminds me the thing about the chalice and the Da Vinci Code and all that potential silliness. But, so maybe with this three women, I may be subconsciously referring to that. Oftentimes, it's best not to delve too deeply into why you did something in a painting, which is what makes doing these little videos for you all a little bit of a double-edged sword, because I'm not just doing it, I'm talking about why I'm doing it, and that creates. So see, this is one of the things I have to worry about why I keep this rag, is if you're not careful, and I have two different whites, my warm and my cool white, you can really muddy the thing up. So I just wiped off, because I picked up some of that blue purple, and now I'm going to intentionally drag the two together. But notice how I'm not going back across, looking at it, seeing where my mess is, wiping off the mess again. And you know, don't overthink it. Maybe that's one of the best pieces of advice I can give for art making is don't overthink it. Enjoy it, celebrate it, create it, but don't overthink it. Which again, might be counterintuitive since I'm talking about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as I do it. It almost necessitates overthinking it. All right, I'm digressing. So, getting some of this cooler the arm up against, and I'll come back when I do her rolled sleeve. But, so warm and light is light struck. Cool and dark is shadow. Again, checking where my dirty color is so that I don't drag it. So see how much cleaner this yellow is than this one. But that's fine because this is much more the light struck area. I want to draw attention to that. And so, then you get these little paint stick boogers that you have to pick off. This one gallery I used to deal with, well, he would also do the framing, and I would bring the work in and he would sit there and start picking those off. It's like, no, 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 you have to leave them. If I left it there, it stays. So that our girl really doing the listening here, let's get her shirt dealt with. And she's all going to be in shadow. Because the light source is implied coming from behind. So I'm just laying in a bit of blue. And as you can see, I'm being very gentle with that application because I still want it to read as white. So not putting a lot of color down. But that's what I'll start the blending from. And because it's been a couple of days since I first started working on this, these oranges and yellows are dry. So I'll then leave little peaks of color, like right in here. And from that distance, you probably can't see it, but there's a little bright orange popping up through. And that was one of the artists who I really enjoy, Wayne Tebow. It's a big thing with his work, is leaving those little connections of color to tell the history of the creating of the piece. Because we're not, the painting, and this one certainly is too, is sort of a celebration of a moment in time, but it's also a celebration of a process. So showing how you got there, particularly for fellow artists, is a particular treat. Now, I just decided that I should probably throw a little light right here on the edge, a rim light as it were. But see, I've got these oranges and purples on here. So I'm gonna wipe those off again. And that's one of the things, I'm actually peeling back some of this skin, which is actually just the dried pigment, getting rid of that so it doesn't drag too much color into the whole thing. And now I'm letting those two blend together. And okay, I'll have to wipe this off again because I've just put all my warm color into my cool, and vice versa. So there, that was a boo-boo. My wife had come up with the saying, was, I think it's quite apt, that painting is the act of striving for imperfection. It's clearly, I'm not trying to do photorealistic work, but I'm trying to celebrate a moment, trying to capture a mood, but it's really more about, a phrase I like to use a lot is, I'm not smart enough to be an abstract painter. I can't, it's hard for me to come up with forms and shapes and areas that aren't based in some level of reality. So, and then I enjoy the narrative part of it as well. And even when you look at abstract paintings, it's human nature to try to find the object, find the story, find the human in it. So I just go ahead and put the human in it to begin with. But these are intrinsically, and all art is, abstract, even the most even Andrew Wyeth say. Because we're taking a three-dimensional reality that's fluid, has the fourth dimension of time, and stopping that time into a single image, a single moment. That's the picture plane. And then, of course, we're also taking a three-dimensional reality and turning it into a two-dimensional expression of that reality. Just decided that her skin tone here on the neck was too dark. See, I can think and talk at the same time, sort of. So, this is where I'm going, and in interest of keeping the videos from being very long-winded, I thought I would just sort of show you. So let me do just a little bit of the blending explanation. So I'm going to work on the back of the cafe chair. So I'm going to lay in some of this vermilion color, which is going to function as my dark for this. And then I take orange, which is my base color. I tend to use orange as a wood tone, not always. Now down here, that vermilion is dry. So I'm going to add, to be fair, it's not actually vermilion, but alizarin crimson. Just so if you're buying these, and by the way, if you are buying these, you can search Greg Leach on Amazon, and you can buy my palette. You can buy a set of the paint sticks that I use to create this work, and you don't have to buy all the other colors. I think it's 7 paint sticks, and if it's not on Amazon, I'm sure it's searchable. Maybe I should have checked before I said something. But anyway, so you can see, so the orange, the alizarin crimson, then I lay white on top of it. Now I'm coming back in with the yellow to get some of the highlight and get some of that three-dimensional curve. And it really is the way you layer colors. It's not only the layering, but which color goes first, second, third. So if you do white, yellow, red, you get one kind of orange, but if you do red, then white, then yellow, you get another, and yada, 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 on and on and on. So again, just laying that alizarin crimson in. And then the orange, and of course, that's picking up some of that alizarin crimson and giving that nice dark underside edge of the cane of the chair. And this is what I really like, because color is all communicated by the colors around it, affected by, I guess would be a better word. Look up Joseph Albers, and you'll find some really excellent tutorials and some great books, plus Itten, I-T-T-E-N, both work with creating art or examples of how colors are radically changed by the colors next to them. So by working right on the surface and right where the color is going to be, I have more control over the color. Now, because this blue is dry already, I don't have to worry as much about picking it up and making mud like I did up here. So you have to strategize. Where do I want that soft edge, that transitional edge, and where do I want it to jump like that? And this jumps even more because the blue, orange are a pair of complements, so there's really pops this chair up and off of the surface by virtue of the color around it. Whereas down here, where it's analogous and it's more of a value thing, it's not as much of a pop away. And then this is his shirt here. This is her apron, the woman in the angle here. This white right here is this woman's apron, but right here more of her pants leg. So I'm going to grab the phthalo blue again. And then I did work on this earlier, so that should blend. And that's how I get my black. You can see how dark that is. So that vermilion, alizarin crimson and phthalo blue gives you that black. Now I see I kind of overstepped my bounds there, as it were. So I'm going to pull that vermilion back, alizarin crimson back across. And then, because that's not right, tag the orange. So orange feels like the edge is getting involved, so I'm going to break away. You maybe hear it. It's an older orange, so that edge is pretty dry. It's a little thicker. Now I'm getting a much more fluid line. Again, so I'm sort of almost, because I made that transition, I have to almost come back and redo everything. And then I'm noticing right here, I'm seeing some of the previous drawing part. Because the Paintstiks are a little bit translucent. So you have to be a little aware of that, what's coming up through. But that also affords the opportunity to do underpainting, old master technique. So you can see how this is going. And see, I really enjoy this is replicated here. These curves and then those curves, the sort of same thing. And I think that's what ultimately what drew me to the image. So again, that idea of abstraction, that's my underlying chunk of the painting. So this painting will continue to develop. I hope you come back and check them out. I'm going to turn the camera off here shortly and continue to work on the piece. But you can check out my website, gregleach.com. Also, later this month, I'll start painting the first bike race of the season, the Tour Down Under. Fortunately, the horrible fires in Australia are not in the Adelaide Hills this year. They have burned in the past. But, so I'll be doing watercolors, and I'll share some of those as well. So that's where we are thus far. Be sure to check back, and you can probably tell this is a big painting. These figures are close to life size. And I'll put all the links and where you can buy the oil sticks and all that in the comment section below. Please give me a like, give me a follow. Thank you all.